The Galactic Linguistic Preservation Council had assembled the greatest minds from 47 species. Their mission: to decode the final remnants of the Velkari civilization, extinct for 12,000 standard years. The ancient species had left behind monuments, archives, and mysteries, but their language had died with them, or so everyone believed. Professor Thexnor, a four-armed quintillion scholar, stood before the holographic display showing Velkari script. "We've exhausted every algorithmic approach," she announced, her translator rendering her clicks and whistles into galactic standard. "Without a Rosetta Stone equivalent, this language is lost forever." The council chamber hummed with disappointed murmurs from various species. Decades of work, centuries of hope, all crumbling into academic failure. That's when the human cleared his throat. Captain Marcus Webb sat in the back row, having been invited as a courtesy. Humans were new to the galactic community, barely 2 centuries integrated. Most species still viewed them as enthusiastic children, playing with advanced technology they'd only just discovered. "Excuse me," Marcus said, standing. His voice carried the peculiar confidence that other species had learned to recognize in humans, the tone that preceded either brilliance or disaster, sometimes both. Thexnor's eye stalk swiveled toward him. "Captain Webb, we appreciate your species' interest in xenoarchaeology, but this is a matter for experienced linguists." "I can read it," Marcus interrupted. The chamber fell silent. "I'm sorry?" Thexnor's translator struggled with her incredulous tone. Marcus walked down the aisle, his boots echoing in the sudden quiet. "The Velkari language. I can read it. I can speak it too, if you'd like, though my pronunciation is probably rusty. Haven't used it in, about 11,000 years." A Zorathian delegate's tendrils twitched in what could only be laughter. The human makes jokes, how characteristic. But Marcus wasn't smiling. He approached the holographic display, studying the script with an expression that made several council members uncomfortable. It was the look of recognition, of memory. "This passage," he pointed to a section that had stumped linguists for decades, "is a prayer. Specifically a funeral rite for children who died before their naming ceremony. It translates roughly to, unnamed but not unknown, unvoiced but not unheard. We return you to the eternal chorus where all songs begin." Thexnor's forearms trembled. That would be consistent with the context. This was found in a burial site for juveniles. "But how could you possibly?" "Because I was there," Marcus said quietly. "I attended a funeral exactly like that. Stood in the rain on Velkar Prime while High Speaker Zormathis sang those words over his daughter's grave." The council erupted into chaos. Accusations of fraud, demands for proof, outraged cries about human arrogance. But Marcus stood calm, waiting for the storm to pass. Finally, Thexnor raised one arm for silence. "Captain Webb, humans live approximately 100 standard years. The Velkari have been extinct for 12,000. Unless you're claiming to be immortal." "Not immortal," Marcus corrected. "Just very, very careful, and lucky. And someone who really, really doesn't like the idea of dying." He pulled up his sleeve, revealing what appeared to be a simple bracelet. The metal was unlike anything in the Council's extensive materials database. "Velkari technology," he explained. "They called it a Chronos anchor. Slows aging to a crawl while the wearer is in stasis. I've been sleeping through most of human history, waking up every few centuries to see what's new, then going back under when things got boring or dangerous." He smiled wryly. "You'd be surprised how often those two things coincide." Thexnor approached slowly, her scientific curiosity overriding her skepticism. Why would you do this?" Marcus's expression turned distant. "I was an anthropologist. Still am, I suppose. In my original time, we'd just discovered that we weren't alone in the universe. Velkari traders had made first contact with Earth. I was part of the cultural exchange program." His voice softened. "I lived on Velkar Prime for 40 years. Learned their language, their customs, their music. Fell in love with their civilization. And then—" "The plague," whispered a Korvaxian historian who specialized in galactic catastrophes. Marcus nodded. "Nothing they tried could stop it. Nothing we could offer helped. I watched a civilization of 12 billion people die over the course of 5 years. Zormathis gave me this bracelet before the end. Said their language, their culture, their memory shouldn't die with them. Someone needed to remember." He turned back to the holographic display, So I've been doing that, sleeping through centuries, waking to see what humanity has become, waiting for the day we'd reach far enough into space to find Velkari ruins, waiting for someone to start asking questions I could answer. The chamber was absolutely silent now. I have recordings, Marcus continued. Audio files of native speakers. Detailed notes on grammar, syntax, cultural context. 12,000 years of memories locked in digital amber, waiting to be shared. He looked around at the assembled scholars. I can help you translate everything. Every monument, every archive, every scrap of writing they left behind. But I need something from you. Thexener's voice was barely above a whisper. What? Remember them as they were. Not as academic curiosities or extinct species number 743. Remember that they were people. That they loved and laughed and created beauty. That they mourned their children and celebrated their elders and sang in the rain. His voice cracked slightly. Remember that they mattered. Professor Thexnor extended one arm in the quintillion gesture of deep respect, a gesture reserved for the most honored teachers. One by one, every member of the council did the same, each in their species' own way. We will remember, Captain Webb, Thexnor said, and we thank you for carrying their memory across the ages. Marcus smiled, truly smiled for the first time in what felt like centuries. Good. Now who's ready to learn a dead language from someone who actually spoke it? Fair warning, Velkari grammar is absolutely insane, gorgeous but insane. As the council gathered around him, eager to learn, Marcus looked at the Velkari script floating in the air and silently thanked his long-dead friend Zormathis. I kept my promise, old friend. They'll remember you now, and somewhere in the vast silence of space, perhaps the eternal chorus sang a little louder.